Hey everyone, welcome to Design Charts. Today we'll be discussing the monolithic architecture, its benefits and drawbacks. Let's get started with it right away. What is a monolithic architecture? A monolithic architecture is a traditional model for designing software programs. Monolith here refers to something that is composed all in one piece. Monolithic systems are generally designed to be self-contained. All the components are tightly coupled rather than being loosely coupled. Each component and its associated components must all be present in the code for it to be executed and the application to run. It is a single-tiered software application in which different components are combined to form a single program and a single platform. The various components could be user authorization, which could be responsible for authorizing and managing users, a presentation layer which is responsible for handling UI and HTTP requests in case of backend monoliths. Business logic layer generally has the application's core business logic. A data access layer which is responsible for accessing the database. There could be a third-party integration layer which manages integrations with various third-party services via messaging or APIs. Let's check an example for a monolith. Let's imagine you're building an e-commerce application that does various functions such as authorizing and managing users, managing the product catalog, payments, notifications, and the entire order cycle. This application can also consist of the user interface for customers along with the backend services. All the components are present in the same code base and the application is deployed as a single monolithic application. For example, it could be a Java web application consisting of a WAR file that runs on a web container such as Tomcat. You can run multiple instances of the application behind a load balancer in order to scale and improve availability. There are many benefits to monolithic architecture. Let's go through them. A monolith architecture is very easy to develop. At the beginning of the project, it is much easier to go with monolithic architecture. Most of the current development tools and IDEs are meant to support the development of monoliths. It is usually easier to go with this in the initial stages since development is much simpler. A single code base could simplify logging, application performance monitoring, and other development concerns. It is also very easy to test monoliths. You can implement end-to-end testing by simply launching the application and testing the UI. It's very easy to deploy as well. We simply need to deploy the WAR file or the directory hierarchy on appropriate runtime. It is quite easy to scale monoliths. Monoliths can be scaled horizontally by running multiple copies behind a load balancer. Contrary to popular beliefs, it is much easier to make radical changes in the initial stages of the monolith. It's very easy to change the code and entities in the database schema. We just have to build and redeploy. The monolith approach is excellent for simple, lightweight applications. As the application and the team grows in size, the same advantages become disadvantages. For more complex applications with frequent code changes and evolving requirements, this architecture is not suitable. Let's look at why. Maintenance. Monolithic applications are single-tiered, which means multiple components are combined into one large application. As a result, they usually have large code bases, which can be difficult to manage over time. The larger the code base, the slower the IDE and the less productive developers are. Monolithic application prevents teams from working independently. The teams must coordinate their development efforts. The large monolithic code base also intimidates developers, especially the ones who are new to the team. If the application becomes too large and complex to understand entirely, it is challenging to make changes fast and correctly. The larger the application, the longer it takes to start up. This can have huge impact on developer productivity because of the time consumed waiting for the container to start. The size of the application can slow down the startup time as well. This impacts deployment, rollbacks, and bringing up more instances of the application dynamically if there is a sudden spike in load. Reliability. A bug in any module can potentially bring down the entire application. Also, since all instances of the application are running the same code, a single bug can bring down the entire site. Because of the risk associated with deployment, developers often get discouraged to do frequent deployments. This is especially a problem for agile development as it reduces the frequency of releases and slows down the development. Scaling the application. A monolithic architecture allows scaling to be done in only one dimension. Scaling can only be done horizontally by running more copies of the application behind a load balancer. Also, if different application components have different resource requirements, scaling becomes a challenge. One of the component might be CPU intensive, while the other component might be memory intensive. Since we cannot scale the components independently, we might ending up wasting a lot of resources and increasing the cost significantly. Evolving the tech stack. It is possible that in order to adopt to a newer platform or a framework, you have to, in the worst case, rewrite the entire application. A new development framework or a language will affect the entire application, so adopting to it can be both time consuming and costly. Smaller organizations on tight budgets may not have the funds or staff available to update the application, and hence may end up maintaining the system with all the challenges, slowing down development and significantly increasing the time to ship new features, which directly affects the company's growth. As we discussed earlier, monolith means composed all in one piece, but the adjective monolith also refers to something which is too large and unable to be changed. With the rapid increase in computational power and complexity of problems, monolithic architecture often results in unmaintainable systems. As a result of this, many organizations are moving away from monolithic architectures and adopting microservice architectures because it offers multiple advantages. Of course, there are drawbacks to microservices as well. We will discuss those in another video. If you've reached till here, I assume you would have loved our content. Let us know your views on the topic in the comments, and also support us by liking, sharing and subscribing to our content. Thank you.